welcome to our guests. We have Owen Garvey presenting his senior project today. BNS students, remember to remove any headphones, earbuds, stay off any devices, and take notes if you're going to be writing the LLLs for the senior presentation.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. My name is Owen Garvey. My senior presentation is about game design. Thank you guys for coming. Let's get into it. So let's just start with what I'm going to be talking about during this presentation. We're going to start with just kind of the basic things about my project, what it's about. Then we're going to talk about the research I've done for this project, the products that I made over the course of this project, and then lastly, we will discuss the future and what that has in store for me and this project. So let's start with the first section. What is my project about? What are the fundamentals and the foundation of this project? You guys all know me, Owen Garvey. I'm a senior, 18, looking to graduate next month. And my project is obviously, as I mentioned, about game design and the art of developing and coding your own video game. And I wanted to do this because ever since I was 3, I've been playing video games. And I've always wanted to make my own video games since I've always loved playing them myself. So I knew that since I'd be doing a senior capstone project, this would be the perfect opportunity for me to do so. Now, most of you guys should know that us seniors, we just do one big project rather than small little 6-week projects, and we have to get 300 hours at least. So we have to push ourselves and go outside of our comfort zone. I had to put in a lot of effort doing research, making products, and working on my video game. It all started August 30th. That was my first day of senior year. So obviously it's a big deal, knowing I'm only going to be here for one more year before I go to college. My first hours logged on this project happened in early September, and I didn't propose until late October. From there, I started doing research, and my first product started coming in early 2024. Today, I'm presenting, and tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th, I have my assessment, which will finally conclude my senior project. So what exactly did I want to set out and do for this project? On top of making a game, I wanted to make a game people would remember. I didn't want to have something that you would just toss on the shelf when you're done. I wanted something people could talk about, and really, I wanted to create an immersive and engaging experience. I also set out to try to create a computer that has been optimized and specifically engineered for game development and gaming, and that played a role in my project as well. The video game I made was a ROM hack because I knew that creating a video game from scratch all alone over the course of one school year was going to be nearly impossible, so I had to get creative. The ROM hack is where you modify a previously published game like Mario, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda, Grand Theft Auto, to name a few, by adding, removing, or changing assets to make your own game. This means creating your own adventure and your own story by creating new characters, changing the environment, doing whatever you have to do. But this way, it's a lot easier because you already have the assets laid out for you and you don't have to do a lot of the coding or script writing. My choice was Pokemon, since I found it to be one of my favorite franchises and just my choice for this project. So from there, I knew what I wanted to do, so I started out to do research. My main research topics over the course of this project were the design, the development, and the marketing of video games. The design phase is the first phase when you're making a video game. This is where you have the ideas in your head and you're generating concepts like what characters you want to have or where you want to take, where the setting of the video game is going to take place. The development stage is where you actually take these ideas and you work with coders and programmers to really take the ideas that the designers have in their heads and put them on the screen and set them out on the platforms like the PlayStation or the Switch or your computer for people to play. This is where you want to make sure that the visuals that you have on your designs pull up on your screen and function properly. And lastly, once you have your game polished and the finished product is done, you can start marketing your game, promoting it. When you think of big, popular games that are cultural phenomenons, the ones that I think of, like Minecraft and Fortnite, the reasons these games are so popular are because they're able to collaborate with these influencers and promote their games in ways that shock the culture so much that allows them to reach bigger audiences than games have before. So I was able to do research and study market trends and how to manage products in order to make a video game as successful as it can be. So for the design stage, I started with a storyboard for my Pokemon ROM hack. I just did this in a notebook, laying out the foundation. I had a legend for where each landmark was going to be, and I figured out where I wanted to put each Pokemon throughout the map. And then once I had everything figured out, like what's going to happen in the story and where it's going to take place, I started development. I used different computer programs such as RPG Maker XP, role-playing game Maker XP, and the Visual Boy in order to hack the Pokemon ROM and create my own game. And these pictures here, the one on the left, I'm editing the movement permissions where it says where and where not my character is allowed to travel throughout the map. And the second one, I'm editing which Pokemon I want to have appear in which areas of the map. So things like that. Lastly, marketing. ROM hacks, the thing about ROM hacks is, since they're usually copyright, one is not able to make money off of it, but since this is my senior project, that's not really the point, especially with ROM hacking. People do it for fun and with the community, and if I still wanted to publish my game or push it out into the community, I'm able to do that through social media or through events or online chat groups. I'm just not able to sell it, make profit, but if I still want others to be able to play it, I'm able to do so. Obviously, I had to do a lot of research, and that wouldn't have been able to happen without live sources. The first live source that I talked to, his name's Andy. You guys have probably seen him around here and there. He's the AI guy that comes in every now and then. He helped me at the beginning of this year work with the fundamentals of game design and truly understand what this is all about. And he also gave me additional resources to look into, so that was very helpful. Secondly, during the production phase, I met with Mr. Steve, who is actually Miss K's boyfriend. He helped me. He's an expert in building computers, and he was able to help me assemble the computer that I used for game development. So what came of it? Aside from my video game and my computer, I took lots of notes. I took my notes on paper in a notebook, very old school, old fashioned, but it's what I've always done and what worked for me. So with pages of notes, I was able to write my senior essay and end of project analysis, very PLP processy type stuff. But I'm also proud of my video game, my ROM hack, and my computer, which will probably last me at least through college at the minimum. So more on that in the product section. As I mentioned earlier, I now have a strong gaming computer that will last me years and years to come, specifically optimized for game development, game design, but can be used for other things, like when I go to college, I'm sure I can do my projects on there, and I have been using it for just leisurely gaming when I'm playing with my buddies or doing whatever I want to do on the computer. But obviously it's not just like any other computer. I needed to have good parts, and this not only cost a lot of money, but a lot of research and time, because without a good processor, the processor, what that allows you to do, this computing processing unit, to be specific, allows the computer to run faster, allows it to connect to Wi-Fi and internet faster, and allows for a higher refresh rate. Basically how strong of a computing system the PC really is. And the graphics card, I went with a 3080 RTX graphics card, and this is capable of displaying some of the highest quality graphics in the gaming industry as well as just in modeling and rendering, so it's very useful for game development. And that kind of goes hand in hand with monitor because a good monitor would be also useful for displaying good graphics and making sure that I have a high refresh rate and high quality resolution for my game. I also need a strong power supply unit, or PSU. I have an 850 watt power supply Corsair, and I also need lots of storage and memory on my computer since I will be storing lots of assets for my game. So I got a 1 terabyte hard drive for my PC. So my main product is the Pokemon ROM hack. This is what you guys are all here to see and hear about. It's not done, it's still in demo, but you can play around with it. I have a video here that just kind of shows what I have so far. Nothing is final, nothing is set in stone, but this guy in the red, that's the character that you have. You can kind of walk around the maps, walk into different houses. I'll walk into this building at some point and that's when you kind of choose your first Pokemon. So this is all stuff that, all these assets, like obviously I didn't create Pokemon, but I get to create these little worlds inside of worlds, like this house, or that house, or these characters, and I get to customize these interactions in ways that have never been seen before, and that's what I really like about game design, is it's unique. So here I'm walking into this area above that town. There is a feature, well, we'll get to that in a sec, but here I grab an item on the ground that I can use later. And then I walk over towards these plants. There's a feature I added where you can harvest berries, and the berries actually heal the Pokemon in battle. When the character walks into the tall grass, that is where Pokemon appear. They have a random chance of appearing. And this is when the battle begins, for those of you who are familiar with Pokemon. It's all about using your Pokemon's attacks and strategies to defeat the other team's Pokemon. In this case, I have the Bulbasaur, and it's my goal to, if I need to switch, because Celebi is stronger, to eliminate the opponent's Pokemon. And that's kind of the aim of the game, is to have the best Pokemon and better your team of Pokemon by eliminating others. Alright, so now that we've been over all the research I've done and all the products that I've made, what's next for me and for this project? Now, a lot of you guys are probably asking yourself, when do I get to play this game? Excuse me. Well, I'm not done with the game. You can still prototype it. There's demos. If you would like to play, feel free to just come up to me after the presentation. I'll let you play around with what I have. Aside from that, as I've mentioned before, this has always been something I've wanted to do, something on my bucket list. It's always been make my own video game. So in my free time, I know I'm hoping to accomplish this and have it fully completed sometime within the next few years at the very least. So that's where that's at right now. But for me, you guys know I'm graduating soon. So next year, I'm hoping to attend either Fox Valley Technical College or University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh for a year or two in order to stay at home, save some money, stuff like that, before transferring to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to finish my degree. and I will either be majoring in communications or statistics with a minor in the other one. And I will be studying sports analytics, and I hope to do something with in the sports analysis world upon my college graduation, whether that be working for a company like ESPN or CBS, or managing a front office for sports teams like the Packers or the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's where I'm hoping the future will take me, but only time will tell. As we conclude the presentation, it'd be wrong for me to not give thanks to those who have helped me along the way. First and foremost, my mom, loving me every step of the way, being there since day one, raising me to be who I am, being there, taking me places. I mean, I could go on and on and on about her. I mean, I love you so much. Miss Fornes, the advisors, and the BNS community, inspiring me, teaching me, making sure that I have everything I need to succeed in my high school journey. All my friends, family, being there for me when I need them, sticking up for me, just being great friends. Obviously the live sources, anyone else who has helped me with this project, helping me grow my expertise, expand my knowledge on this topic over the course of the past school year. And anyone else that you might not think of, like a boss, a doctor, a coach, a colleague, anyone that has played a role in helping me achieve my academic success, because I want to be at this podium right now if it weren't for all these people on this slide. So thank you, each and every one of you. With that, that concludes the main portion of my presentation. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, otherwise I can answer your questions now.
Yes, if you could give a brief summary of what makes your ROM hack different from the base game.
So the question was, what makes a ROM hack different from the base game? And my answer to that would be pretty much everything aside from the script and the graphics, because it's really a different video game, different setting, different characters. You just don't have to create sprites, you don't have to edit much code. It's just a lot simpler. It's, think like Super Mario Maker, just a little more complex. Aiden?
Follow up, what makes your ROM hack specifically different from the base game?
The question was, what makes my ROM hack specifically different? And it's just like, you know, any other ROM hack, it's just a different story, different characters, but all within the same idea of Pokemon. Cole.
Nintendo is pretty, yes, they don't really like people like taking their stuff, you know, how are you gonna keep them from taking this down if it does eventually get finished?
Yeah, so Nintendo is pretty strict about this. The question was, how will I keep Nintendo from trying to take down my game? And a lot of people make ROM hacks. There's a lot of very popular ROM hacks out there, and the fact of the matter is, Nintendo can't really do anything as long as you're giving credit by ROM hacking and you're not selling it to make money. And as long as you own the base game and you're not pirating it, there's nothing that can do. Cameron?
Hardest part about developing a ROM hack?
Question was, what's the hardest part about developing a ROM hack? Probably just the sheer amount of time it takes, putting in the effort. It sounds easy. It really just depends on how much you want to modify the game and how complex you want to make it, because I've seen ROM hacks that can take tens and tens of hours, just like a regular video game, but I've also seen ones that you can finish in one sitting. Cole?
How expensive was it to build the gaming computer?
Question was, how expensive was it to build the gaming computer? I think I probably spent around $2,000 on it, although I did get most of the parts on Black Friday, so I was able to save some money by doing that. Miles?
What was your favorite part of this project?
Question was, what was my favorite part of this project? Probably just making the game. You know, that's really what I came here to do was create my own story, my own experience. That's really fun. Ms. Luki?
Can you describe the process of making a part of the ROM hack, for example? Like maybe take us to the video and, I don't know, like tell me how you actually make like a person go into a house and see a different world and pick up a coin or something. Like how do you make that happen?
Sure. Okay, so let me go back to the video. Ms. Luki's wondering, just asking me to elaborate on the process here. So kind of what happens is, if I go here, there's these things called events within the map. For example, this door is what's called a warp event. This means when you go on this event, when you stand there, that it will warp you to a different location being inside the house. If I go to this guy, he is a signpost event technically, because if I go up to him, he will tell me dialogue, and this guy in particular doesn't really do much. I was just testing things out at the time. He just kind of reads some dialogue and that's it. However, I can create these more I think it's just called an interaction event. When I go up, if I click this Pokemon, it's going to ask me if I want to collect the Pokemon, in which I'm able to press yes or no, because it's a different type of event. And the map is full of events, like anything that I can read about or interact with, or things that will take me from one place to another, are all considered events, at least in the software that I was using. So, excuse me. And then aside from that, once I have the interaction set up, I just kind of edit what the character wants to say. So if I want to have him say, so this guy here is asking if I want the Bulbasaur, I could word it however I want, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just getting to know the events and how you can set those up is key. Leon?
Advice for future seniors.
Question was advice for future seniors. I would say just pick something for your senior project that you enjoy, because if you're not having fun doing it, you're not going to get it done. And you're going to want to have something. If you're putting 300 or more hours into it, pick something that you're going to enjoy, and pick something you're going to be able to have fun with. Cole?
One, do you have a title for the game? And two, where can you download the demo?
The question was, do I have a title for the game, and can you download the demo? You can't download it yet, just because I haven't exported it anywhere yet. And I'm not set on the title, but I'm thinking Pokemon Opal, since most of them are named after minerals, gems, or like colors. Isaac?
Throughout the project, was it hard? Did you find it hard to get to like 300 hours, or yeah?
The question was it difficult getting to 300 hours? Honestly, kind of. I had a pretty slow start to my project. I think I've heard people describe it as senioritis, where once I'm a senior, I start to lose interest in my projects. So that was definitely apparent at the beginning of the year, but once I got things going, I started working on my game, got my PC built. They definitely started coming in, and I've reached over 300 hours, so at the end of the day, I got it done. Ms. Fornes?
Based on your research, how will you market the video game, or if it was complete, how would you market it?
So the question was, based on the research, how will I market my game when I'm done with it? That depends on the state of the gaming community, especially the Pokemon world at the time. But I plan to I'll tell my friends about it. I might post it to social media, be like, look at this cool thing I've done. But I'm not taking it too seriously. I'm not trying to like make a living off of this or anything. Just kind of doing it for me. So, Milo,
Did this make you want to make your own video game from scratch? Like,
I'm sorry.
Did this make you want to make your own video game from scratch in the future, or?
The question was, does this inspire me to make me want to make my own video game from scratch in the future? I've thought about it. It's just never been my thing, really. It just seems complex. It's just not something I've always been super familiar with. I haven't done coding before this, really. I'd definitely be open to it, assuming I have the right resources or a team to work with. But as of now, I just don't see that happening. Roger?
What inspired you to base it off of, or like use Pokemon as a template?
So the question was, what inspired me to use Pokemon for my game? And I knew I was going to be doing a round hack because it's just the most tangible for a senior project. And a lot of the newer video games that like you're playing today, probably on the PS5 or the new Xbox or the Switch, are way too complex to be hacked for a round game. And a lot of the older video games, like on the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Advance or the Nintendo DS, those are where ROM hacks really occur because they're not too old and retro, where they're still new enough for you to be able to look into all the files and be able to pull those assets. So that didn't leave me with too many choices, like I mentioned before, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, and I decided to go with Pokemon because it's just what I've been into at the time. I still play Pokemon Go on a weekly basis. I just figured that it was the best choice for this project. That's it.
If you could make your dream game, what would it be?
So the question was, if I could make my dream game, what would it be? That's a good question. I think it'd be really cool. Mario Kart has always been my favorite franchise. A lot of you guys know that. I feel like a Mario Kart game mixed with like Super Smash Bros. So like all these different universes combined into Mario Kart. They've kind of been doing that lately with all these expansions, but something like that would be awesome. Like I'd love to play as like a Fall Guys or Among Us character driving through San Andreas in Mario Kart. Like that'd be unheard of. Ms. Kay?
This may be a follow-up question to some of the other ones put together. I'm wondering if you can give us more details about like the software that you use, and then how much of that, and you just kind of said, I'm not sure you're actually doing coding, or you are, like, are you changing bits within the code, or is some of it like snap in code pieces or copying code from other pieces to create something new? Maybe talk a little bit more in depth about that process and what software you use.
Yeah, so Ms. Kay was wondering, just asked me to elaborate upon the software I used and the coding that I needed to do and how it kind of played into ROM hacking. I started by using a Visual Boy ROM hacking software, just for ROM hacking Game Boy Advance games in particular. But that required a lot of prior knowledge, especially with coding. And so I figured that, especially just for doing a senior project, that it wouldn't be tangible. It would be too much even for 300 hours. So I switched pretty early on in the production phase to RPG Maker XP, which RPG stands for role-playing game. Pokemon is a role-playing game. And that didn't have to do with so much coding. It was more so just taking the little characters and the items in the environment and pretty much moving them around, and it's a lot easier. They simplify it for you, so you don't have to edit too much code and you don't have to change too much of like the script of the base game.
And a follow-up
Sure.
too. Is your story different? Like, did you create a different objective of the game, or
Yeah, in a way. The question was, is my story different than the regular game? And my answer to that would be yes. It's a very different experience, but with Pokemon and with if you play a video game and then you play the sequel and then you continue playing throughout the franchise, they're going to be similar. It's always going to be a different experience and a different journey for you and for the main character of the game. But it's a similar concept. You know, you go through all the different cities and you level up your Pokemon to try and become the best Pokemon trainer. So it's a similar concept, but you go to different places, you meet different people. So I'd say it's a different story. Just look.
What are some lessons you learned in this project that don't have to do with video games?
So the question was, what are some lessons I learned in this project that don't have to do with video games? That's a good question. I've asked computer science skills, development skills for sure. In terms of the project process, I underestimated how difficult a senior project would be. I kind of looked at it as just a bunch of smaller 6-week projects, which I do anyway, but it was definitely challenging. Aside from that, not much, because the majority of my project was based around video games and the design and the development of